The history of television in the Kingdom of Bahrain dates to the 70s of the last century, when the first television broadcasts began in 1973, with the launch of the first television broadcast in Bahrain and the first color television in the Arabian Gulf, and its broadcast began on September 9th, 1973.
Ismail Madani, and taking a look at one of Bahrain's most well-known landmarks.
And to know more about it, here is Anne. Hello, Anne.
Hello.
Can you give us an idea about what's going on?
In Bahrain, there is, of course, a big population of expatriate families.
Some amazing singers, some amazing groups. This could be the talent of the future.
Good evening and welcome to Channel 55's Highlights program, a program that discusses issues which affects us and you.
Since then and throughout the years, the government of Bahrain has been providing state-of-the-art infrastructure, a supportive environment and services to improve and constantly develop the producing and broadcasting process at Bahrain Television, leading to its current remarkable success. In this program, we mark the contributions of the faces of Bahrain International Television, previously called Channel 55, who were an integral part of the channel's development since its launch.
Take Two will be out and about Bahrain, taking us to lots of interesting places and meeting lots of people.
We're looking forward to learning something about Bahrain's heritage and present-day culture.
Hello and welcome. Bahraini people were creative people since the past, and their creativity could be traced throughout history. They were very independent and earned their living by doing various occupations and crafts that people benefited from.
And taking a look at one of Bahrain.
Skateboarding for adults.
Good evening and welcome to Channel 55's Highlights.
The 14th of February.
Hello and welcome to another episode of
We'll see you all next week. Until then,
we get a couple of minutes to talk to her before the conference.
The fourth legislative term of the National Assembly continues the democratic march initiated by His Majesty the King. 40 elected members of the House of Representatives, 40 members of the Shura Council together with the government, working together for the stability, the prosperity and for the benefit of Bahrain and its people. This is Esther Galoom for Bahrain Television. Today marks the start of the British Week in Bahrain, with over 50 events planned around the island involving scientific activities, educational activities, fun, everything British, of course food, and the big London double-decker bus. Look out for it on the streets of Bahrain for the next week. This is Esther Galoom for Bahrain Television.
Well, I came to Bahrain in 1982. I'd met my future husband at college, and so I came out to get married. I didn't know that much about Bahrain apart from what he had told me, but luckily I came out in January, so the weather was very nice, and I was struck with how friendly everybody was, very hospitable. We lived in Zinj at first, and then we moved to Rafah. And I had 2 children. I worked at Aluminium Bahrain and at the International Hospital and also at the Standard Chartered Bank. And then I had a 3rd child, and then I joined British Airways. But it had always been something that I wanted to do, and I loved reading out loud. And I got made redundant from British Airways, and the opportunity came to join Radio Bahrain. So I went for a test and I joined, and I found out that I really loved editing and I loved reading the news and got very passionate about news on the radio. So I was working at the radio for several years, and then the opportunity came to join Bahrain Television. I'd just been to the UK on holiday. I landed back at Bahrain and switched on my phone, and there was a missed call and a message from David Bloomer saying, would you be interested in doing television news? Well, he didn't know that that was a secret ambition of mine. So I jumped at the chance and came into the television and did a screen test, or as a pilot, as we called it. And with 2 other of my colleagues from the radio, that was Paul Fraser and Marie Claire. And we all got through. And so we started training for the television. When I joined the television, one of the things I really enjoyed was the collaboration and the joint effort it took to get the news programme out each evening. At the radio, it was just the newsreader working predominantly on their own, doing the editing. But at the television, there was a huge team of people. There was a group of editors, and we all sat around a great big table ahead of the news going out that night, working on our stories. And then there was the makeup ladies, who were absolutely key, and the gallery and the producers. So it was such a collaboration to get the news out each night. And I think we were joined by this philosophy that at all costs, the news had to get out, whatever happened. And when you're all working together like that, you become very close, and they become your second family in a way, which was great. And the opportunities we had, once I worked at the television for about a year or so, I started doing some television reports. And some of the events we went to cover were absolutely amazing, the opportunities we had. I mean, we went to local events like going to the university to look at student projects, social projects, housing developments, health innovations, and also industry. And yet there were international events as well, such as the Manama Dialogue, which is the International Institute for Strategic Studies. And I covered that event twice, I remember. And when you think that you were mixing and talking to prime ministers, defense secretaries, heads of armed forces, I mean, what a privilege to be doing that, and to be able to show them that Bahrain was a haven of peace and a leading thinker on the world stage. I remember one particular report I was doing for the Manama Dialogue. I was interviewing one of the organisers of the event, and he said, "Look, I'm really sorry, I really can't tell you anything because all the meetings and the sessions are behind closed doors. And, you know, I don't know what we can say." And I suddenly realised that was the whole point of the Manama Dialogue, that this was a forum where the leaders could come together, talk in perfect frankness and in confidentiality without being misrepresented. And so we actually did a really good report on that. And it was things like that you went to do a report. You might not necessarily know what you're going to come out with at the end, but it was really, really satisfying. And then there were so many other events, such as sporting events. There was the Bahrain Grand Prix, and of course horses, all the endurance events, and down at the racecourse as well. So it was such a mix of people, mix of talents that we had to pull together, and it all took all of us to get the show out, as it were. One of the great opportunities we had to promote and spread the message about the peace and the coexistence that is prevalent in Bahrain was the trips to London, Paris and Brussels, which was organised by This is Bahrain. And it involved a number of representatives of the many different faiths that are in Bahrain. And Bahrain is unique in the fact that we have so many faiths that are allowed to practice freely and openly. And the travelling group that went to these three cities were from the Muslim faith. There were representatives from the different Christian churches, from the Hindu temple and the Buddhist temple, as well as social groups from Bahrain. And in fact, even the group from Bahrain Television, it was the first time that I'd collaborated really with the Arabic channel. So it was a great opportunity to spread the word and show the peace and harmony that were abounding in Bahrain at the time. And we liaised a lot. We worked with Associated Press in doing the coverage and getting our reports out. And I do remember that Sahar from the Arabic channel and I were taking it in turns to do different reports because there was so much going on that we couldn't cover it both. So she would go and film one event, and I would go and film another one, and then we'd share the collaboration afterwards. And one particular event that really stuck in my mind, and I still remember it, with great emotion. In fact, we went to the Grand Synagogue in Paris, and we were having lunch there, and they'd set up tables in the courtyard outside the synagogue itself, and it was a lovely, lovely sunny day. And there was a top table where the leaders of each of the different faiths were sitting. And I remember they started the meal with very simple and traditional breaking of the bread. And to me, it just was such a demonstration of the things that unite us. And if we look for those rather than things that divide us. And that was one of my key memories going back, to those trips, and being able to, I do remember a lot of the different nationalities were wearing their traditional costumes, and they were sort of standing outside in the front of Notre Dame Cathedral, and that was before the fire there. We were so lucky to go to these iconic places, and they were standing there saying, "This is Bahrain," and sort of people were stopping to find out what it was about, when there were sort of Muslim leaders in their white robes, and there were the Buddhist monks in their saffron robes and stuff, and the Hindu gentlemen wearing their traditional dress, and it was really momentous, and was a great way to spread the message. But we covered at the television. We went to so many different events. Another highlight for me was when I was asked to accompany the royal team to go to the Royal Windsor Horse Show. And as anyone who knows me very well knows, I have an absolute passion for horses. And this was the first year that Bahrain was involved in the Royal Windsor Horse Show as a sponsor, and participating in the endurance race and also in show jumping. And they'd taken a group of the traditional, or the historic Bahraini Arabian stallions with them to display in the main arena, and as well as doing the television reports each evening, and then doing a big program at the end of the event, I was asked to do the live commentary for the parade of the Bahrain Arabian stallions, and that was in front of His Majesty King Hamad Al Khalifa and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. And I have to say that has to be one of the highlights and the privileges of working at the television. And at the time, it was such an opportunity for the people in the crowd to see these beautiful horses that were very rarely seen outside of Bahrain. And and they were absolutely amazed, because this was when Bahrain was really establishing its own breed it's the different families of the Bahrain Arabian horses. So it was an iconic occasion. I also went with the royal team when we went to Germany. And as part of my passion for horses, I was asked to interview quite a few of the celebrity jockeys coming to the racecourse, and I interviewed Frankie Dettori several times, which was great. And then one of the races in particular, I'd interviewed the champion jockeys, or the celebrity jockeys, and they were saying, no, keep reporting. So I ended up standing in the paddock just with a microphone and having to do live coverage of the racing that day. And funnily enough, I was at the races in Leicester a few weeks ago. One of the jockeys, in fact, Luke Morris, sort of saw me and went, "Hang on a minute, I know you. You interviewed me in Bahrain." So it's a very small world, really. So those are real moments that I treasure, really, in the reporting, things like that. My very first experience of working for Bahrain Television came quite a few years before I even started training for the news. I was working at the Bahrain Radio. In fact, I was still training, so I don't think I'd even gone live on air at that stage. And I got summoned to Sami Hidris's office. Now, Sami was head of Channel 55, so it was a little bit scary as to why I'd been called there. But anyway, he told me that Bahrain was hosting the World Championship for juniors and young riders. And it was sort of the next week. And he had been told by somebody that I knew a bit about endurance and horses. And he asked me what I knew about television, and I confessed it was absolutely nothing, because he obviously wasn't worried about the television side of it, but what he needed was my background in the endurance. So I was told I was going down to Sakhir the next day, and I had a cameraman. So I panicked for a bit, and then worked out sort of 4 different stories, as it were, for the 4 different reports, and went out with the cameraman, did the filming, went back to the television studio or station, and I had to do the editing with Sami himself. So that was a very steep learning curve. It was the very old-fashioned editing equipment. It wasn't digital like it is today. And, you had to decide how many seconds of footage and leave a space on the tape. So it was quite sort of old-fashioned in a way, but Sami was very, very patient with me, and he gave me my introduction into making television reports. I remember it was so close to the wire each time that people were literally running down the corridor with the tape to get them out for the news that night. But I mean, if I look back at those reports now, I'm sure I could do them a lot better. But I was very lucky that was something I was asked to do. So a great opportunity. I moved back to the UK from Bahrain in 2016. My mother was getting quite frail at that time, and 2 of my children are based in the UK now. And I was very lucky to get a job at Leicester City Football Club. It was the year after they had won the Premier League title. And in fact, one of my memories, I was actually working, doing the news on the night that Leicester City were crowned the champions of the Premier League, and Leicester's my home city. So I do remember I was really, really proud to be able to read the item that Leicester City had won the Premiership. I never expected that I would be working for them when I did come back to Leicester. And I don't have a great interest in football, although that has changed now. I don't know a huge amount about it, but I'm very interested, and it's a very exciting place to work. I work for the chief executive. Unfortunately, I'm allowed to say that we've just been relegated. We're back in the championship, but in the time that I was there, we won the FA Cup. So I was at Wembley that day, and we won the Community Shield. So that was very exciting. When I first got there, we were still playing in the Champions League in Europe, and then we played in the Europa League and in the Europa Conference League. So we've had a lot of visiting European clubs coming. So it's a very full-on job. It's quite different from the radio and the TV. I did actually do the safety announcements with the stadium at one stage, but I think, like working at the television, because we work long hours and not necessarily, 9 to 5 hours, again, it becomes a second family. And again, it's that sort of feeling of the show must go on, whatever happens, things, we have deadlines to meet. And it's that sort of camaraderie and absolute teamwork that gets you going, really. On the occasion of the 50th anniversary of Bahrain Television, I would like to offer my congratulations to His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the leadership, and to the people of Bahrain, and particularly to everybody at Bahrain Television and also Radio Bahrain. I would like to send my best wishes to my colleagues. Working with you was amazing. You have a very warm place in my heart. I never forget you, and it was a privilege to work with you all. Thank you so much for your patience, for your help, for being my friend. So to all the people who are behind the scenes, to my fellow news anchors, the gallery, the producers, the makeup ladies, the editors, thank you so much, and I hope that I will see you again one day.
And 50 years on, Bahrain Television continues to its advancement in technology and content. Bahrain International Television's determination to triumph over challenges is the key to its success, and we shall further build on our success by continuing to present the true image of the Kingdom of Bahrain.